Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have a very special video. A video that I've been trying to make for a little bit now, and I've put in some decent work into this video. And a big topic of discussion has been, over the last couple weeks, have really been whether or not the Bears should take Caleb Williams, and whether or not Caleb Williams even wants to come to the Chicago Bears. Is Justin Fields the answer, or do you continue to build the team for one more year? And if you still aren't good, you should have a top pick next year and go ahead and take a quarterback next year with probably a new head coach at that point as well. That's one of the biggest topics of conversation around the Bears is what are they going to do with that number 1 overall pick? There's not a whole ton of conversation around the number 9 pick currently. It's around what are they doing at the quarterback position. It's been a topic of discussion for the last, basically, since the beginning of time for the Chicago Bears. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer. They've never had an active quarterback that you can look at and say, he's top 10, he's top 15. Jay Cutler had some years where he was really good, but the team just wasn't all there, whether it was due to the offensive line just not being able to hold up and protect him throughout the season, or him just not being very good one of the seasons, a couple of the seasons there. It's really been a struggle for the Chicago Bears to find a good quarterback. We've drafted Mitchell Trubisky, we've traded for Jay Cutler, we've drafted Justin Fields. We've always had problems at quarterback. When arguably your 4 best quarterbacks of our time, maybe 5 best, are Jay Cutler, Trubisky for a year, Fields talent-wise, Sid Luckman, and McMahon. No, it's not McMahon. The quarterback that was on the Super Bowl team. Anyway, his name's escaping my mind right now. So when your arguably best quarterback was Sid Luckman or Jay Cutler, really, for the most part, it's kind of, you're a poverty franchise at that point. Especially when you're one of the oldest franchises, if not the oldest, if I remember correctly, in the entire league. It's kind of depressing. So, what is going to happen in this video is basically we took the Chicago Bears. I went into free agency. I tried to sign all the same players. Now, there were a couple different players on each team just based off of availability. Taysom Hill was one of the big ones. I was able to sign him for the Justin Fields team. J.K. Dobbins I signed for the Justin Fields team as well. But then I had to assign Austin Eckler and somebody else to the Caleb Williams team. So, it's basically going to be based around, hey, who can produce more? Now, we can look at it one of two ways, of course. We can look at it as who can produce more and who can win more. So let's go ahead and hop into things. So, the offensive side of the ball, I did go out and sign Rashid Heed, Richie James, J.K. Dobbins, Taysom Hill, Greg Van Roten, Jonah Williams, and that was pretty much it, if I remember correctly. I brought back Robert Tonyan, as well as a couple other pieces on this offense. On defense, I brought in Shaq Lawson, Carl Lawson, Bryce Huff, Leonard Williams, and then Duke Riley and Darnell Savage. Some just backup level players for the most part. Leonard Williams and Bryce Huff will come in and start. Shaq Lawson and Carl Lawson, both decent edge rushers. I don't remember who was actually the better one. I don't even know if they're related, to be fair. And look, this is one thing I will say. I tried to sign the same people. And for the first one, so this one, the Field one, I left the salary cap on. So I had to go out and sign all these guys and get all these guys in with the money that the Bears would have in real life. And this is the money that they have without cutting Jackson and without cutting Cody Whitehair as well. This doesn't include, the money that they would have had going into free agency if they cut Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair as well. But then in the next one, in the Caleb Williams one, I basically just turned off salary cap so I could get the same exact people and just offer the other guys a lot more money so that they would come back. So I'd have virtually the same team. One mistake I did make is that I left injuries on so some players don't get signed. If you guys didn't know, when injuries do occur in Madden, if they have a long-term effective injury going into the offseason, those players just do not get contract offers. So if you're wondering why Kirk Cousins, Connor Williams, Yannick Ngakoue, and others don't get signed in your franchise until like the last week, nobody shows them any interest, that is why, because the injury is affecting how teams view them. So, hopping into things, of course, the Bears have the number 1 overall pick. They've picked 10 as well in the first round. I was mistaken. They've picked 10. I ended up making a trade for pick 9, so that's why I remembered pick 9. And with this being the Fields part of the video, we're going to trade this pick down. Now, of course, you could look and say, hey, this isn't the actual order for some reason. The Cardinals and Washington, I think, are flip-flopped in Madden for some reason. I have no idea why. Because it's not me going through and making all the games, win-losses. This is week 17. This is week 18. This is playoffs, start now. So we're trading a 1, a 6, and a 7 for a 1 of this year, 2 of this year, 1 of next year, a 3 of 2026, if I believe, a 7 of 2025, and a 6 of 2026. All value coming from the Atlanta Falcons. They get to go up and take their quarterback of the future, of course. And, of course, at pick number 1, they go ahead and take Caleb Williams. They get their QB of the future to go alongside all those weapons. The Cardinals, for some reason, took Drake May. In my opinion, in real life, this would be the Commanders' pick. I think they would take Drake May if they have the choice, if they don't trade up to number 1. So at pick number 9, Marvin Harrison fell all the way down, and we are going to take him at pick number 9. Marvin Harrison, the best receiver, what some people believe as the best receiver in the entire class, falls down to number 9. I know this won't happen in real life, but falls down to number 9, and we will take him here. Unfortunately, this won't happen in real life, but if this were to happen, if the Bears were to trade with Atlanta and have back-to-back picks and Marvin Harrison fell to them, this would be out of this world. We do end up trading down this number 10 pick as well, a 1 of 2024, a 6 of 2025 for a 1 of 2024, a 5th of 2025, and a 4th of 2026, I think. We're going to take Cameron Kitchens here, safety out of Miami. I know he's a pretty decent overall. I'm going to take him here. He's hopefully going to start over Eddie Jackson. This would be more of a if Eddie Jackson did get cut type of situation. So we are going into that planning as if Eddie Jackson were to get cut. Jackson Powers Johnson is the pick we're going to take here in the second round. I think a center in the second round is a perfect value. Everybody sits here and says, center isn't very valuable in terms of offensive line. That's probably the most replaceable position. I can tell you right now, as somebody who has watched Sam Mustipher, as somebody who has struggled with Cody Whitehair, it is not. All O-line picks are equal, especially on that interior. JT Tumalio from Ohio State. He was one of the top edge rushers listed just a year and a half ago. We're going to pick him up here in the third. And, of course, with just like free agency, I'm going to take a lot of the same guys. So if the same guys are available, I'm taking them in the next draft as well with Caleb Williams to make this, competition almost as fair as it can possibly be. We're going to run the same playbooks. We're going to run the same depth chart. Basically, everything that we can do to make this as fair and even as possible, we're going to do. So we're going to take Dallin Holkner out of Colorado State. He's a little bit older of a receiving tight end, but he will be a good backup behind Cole Kmet. And especially in the 4th round, I think that's decent value. I did end up trading down the next 4th round pick that we have to Atlanta, so Atlanta gets to trade up once again. Well, they're not even trading up, they're just giving up a future pick for a pick now. Bo Limmer was one of my last picks and a backup O-lineman really at that point. A 5 and a 7 of 2026 and 2025 respectively gets me back into the 6th round, and I did take Ladd McConkey. I don't know why, but there's sometimes when I do draft, whether it's for whatever franchise in the first year, Ladd McConkey sometimes either gets taken in the 1st round or he doesn't get taken until the 6th round. And he was still on the board, so I decided to go after him. So we went ahead and got to week 1. We are taking the Washington Commanders on in the first game of the season. For third straight year, we will be taking them on. But first, let's take a look at the lineup. Now, of course, like I said before, I'm trying to make this as fair and even as possible. So a lot of the same guys are going to be starting. A lot of the same guys are going to be in the same positions and stuff like that. Just to try to give both quarterbacks an equal opportunity. Right? I don't want to make this skewed towards one person. As much as I like Justin Fields, as much as I want the Bears to hold on to him, I don't think it's fair to, give him the better team or the better, roster for the most part, right? Of course, in the next one, you're going to see why I say that, because, of course, with not trading down from a number 1 and not taking QB, there's going to be some differences, right? There's not going to be the same exact things going on every single time. The team looks really good, though. Players across the board that I think can really ball out for us, and at the midseason mark, we are 5-2. The Detroit Lions are 0-7, so after their playoff run, they fell off a cliff. Dan Campbell's probably going to get fired in this universe. If the Bears keep Justin Fields, apparently Dan Campbell's going to get fired because he's going to go 0-7. I think this is a really good start to us. 5-2 is very good, middle of the road in a lot of categories. And at the end of the season, we went 14-7. 3. Now, of course, offensive pass yards per game is very, very bad at 184.5, but we were one of the top rush offenses, one of the top points defenses, one of the top rush defenses, and then middle of the road for pass defense. I think this is very good. We were middle of the road for points scored as well, so when your team is, only letting up 18 points, but you're scoring 22, you're going to win a lot of games, and that's exactly what happened. Now, of course, that Week 18 game is kind of weird. The Rams won 8-7. That's a real weird score. For the playoffs, we're just going to continue to sim until we end up winning or losing. So we took on the Green Bay Packers in the wild card. We beat them 29-21. I ended up misspeaking. We took on the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round. We ended up beating them. We're taking on the number 2 Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Conference Championship. 13-4, they are much better overall, and they do end up beating us. So they will advance to the Super Bowl. It's just hard to beat the Cowboys in sim. It really is. They win 27-21. But overall, a very good year. 14-3. Eberflus would probably be sticking around at this point. So would Justin Fields. No matter almost what his stats were. The offense played well enough. The defense played very good. Would it have been a case of, great defense, okay offense? I don't know. Justin Fields, though, 3,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks, 66 completion percentage. The yardage is the only thing that really scares me. Only 3,100 yards is not very good, but a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, very good. J.K. Dobbins over 1,165 yards, 7 touchdowns. Fields at 685 yards, 8 touchdowns. Khalil Herbert, 224 yards, 5 touchdowns. The offensive rush unit was very good, and of course, with the yards being down from the quarterback, the receiving just isn't quite going to be there. DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, both with 62 catches, over 700 yards, each with 4 touchdowns or more. Rashid Shaheed, 628 yards, 9 touchdowns. Cole Kmet, 578 yards, 3 touchdowns. One thing I will say when we do look at the stats for Caleb Williams, I'm going to have to let you guys in on some information when we get there, but that do kind of skew the stats in Caleb Williams' favor. Tackles for loss, 16 for Leonard Williams, 11 for Dexter, 10 for Sweat, 10 for Huff. This is, I don't know why, but the sacks just aren't there. 6.5 for Huff, 4.5 for Sweat, 3 for Williams, and 1.5 for Edwards, and 1 for Dexter. Just, there's no sacks. I don't know what is going on. I'm going to say something about Madden. I do not think playbooks should determine stats. They just shouldn't. Playbooks should not have an influence on stats at all. Playbooks should only affect gameplay. Like, if I'm playing, this team has more pistol looks, this team has more shotgun looks. Playbooks should not influence anything in Madden. I'll wholeheartedly believe that. MVP discussion, Justin Fields does end up falling in at 7 based off the 14-3 record and having an okay season. Eberflus wins Coach of the Year. No offensive players of the year, I think, besides Justin Fields down at 8 for us, but not really in the running for that. Of course, it would go to CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons wins Defense Player of the Year. Nobody in there. Nope, TJ Edwards at 10. Marvin Harrison, second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, only behind Caleb Williams, who was with the Atlanta Falcons. I could have sworn in old Maddens you could see the team's record. So overall, an improvement again for Justin Fields, going 3,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks, highest completion percentage so far for the year, highest games played, best touchdown to pick ratio, best yards, best rating, best in a lot of categories there. Of course, the only thing that isn't very great is yards per game, like I said before. But if you're not a big fan of that, that's fine. So now we're going to get on to the next little segment. Now, of course, with us taking Caleb Williams at the number 1 overall pick, we are trading Justin Fields to who else? The Atlanta Falcons. Trading him in a 6 for 2, 4, 7, and a 7. This is kind of the packages that I've been seeing going around in real life. So Caleb Williams, we are going to take with the number 1 overall pick, strong arm QB out of UCS, a do-it-all athlete who has all the arm talent in the world. We're going to see exactly how good he can be. Now, this is, of course, in terms of Madden. I'm not going to say this is exactly what's going to happen in real life next year, because I thought the Bears were going to jump out to 8 or 9 wins this year at minimum. And then, of course, with Marvin Harrison not falling down to pick number 9, we're going to have to take a different receiver this time. This is Rome Odunze out of Washington. I personally like him more than Malik Neighbors, just a little bit. I don't know why. I just do. I've fallen in love with Rome Odunze a little bit more than Malik Neighbors. Now, of course, I do hope we do go get Marvin Harrison Jr. And of course, we're taking Jackson Powers Johnson again in the second round because we do end up getting that Falcons second round pick instead of, instead of getting their first and second of this year, we only got their second for Justin Fields. That's what has been reported as Justin Fields' trade value going into the offseason. JT Tamalio, of course, we're taking again. And then, of course, Dylan Holkner in the next pick. Like I said, I'm taking all the same guys. I'm going to set up the depth chart pretty much the same. The roster is pretty much the same. I went outside Richie James, Rashid Shaheed, backup O-lineman, backup edge rushers. I basically went and set up the team almost the same. Almost. There were, a couple differences. I didn't end up being able to get J.K. Dobbins, so I picked up Austin Eckler. I wasn't able to get Taysom Hill because he retired in this franchise, so I ended up picking up a different backup tight end. Rasheen Ali is the only one that I'm really changing. I didn't take Cameron Kitchens in this universe, so I'm going to be taking somebody else here. I know Cameron Kitchens was a first-round pick, not a fifth-round pick, but Rasheen Ali, a pretty decent receiving back. He did end up just tearing his bicep or something at the Senior Bowl. And then, of course, with us needing a backup safety, we're going to take Marcellus Dial. Of course, we do have Darnell Savage and Eddie Jackson still, so Eddie Jackson will just fill into that starting spot, and Darnell Savage will fill into that backup third spot for both strong and free. Of course, this is the draft class, so it's changed a little bit. Like I said, with no Marvin Harrison, we're going to end up getting Caleb Williams and Roman Dunes instead of Cameron Kitchens and Marvin Harrison. So it did change a little bit, not too much. Ladd McConkey, like I said, also did not fall down even until the 5th. I was going to take him there in the 5th. I didn't really want Rasheen Ali, but he was one of the best players that I knew of on the board, and Ladd McConkey wasn't even there in the 5th round. So he went pretty early, so it wasn't able to get done. Caleb Williams is our quarterback. Austin Eckler in here at running back, like I said. Now, here's something I'm going to say real quick. I accidentally made the mistake of putting DJ Moore in the slot. So that will affect Caleb Williams' stats. In Justin Fields' version, I ended up putting Rashid Shaheed in the slot. That's my bad. My bad. So you could put DJ Moore in the slot, but he's probably not going to be playing the slot this year, in my personal opinion. But the team is virtually the same. So take it for what it is. The defense is the only part that really came out the same. I did end up signing Ian Thomas instead of Taysom Hill. Of course, like I said, he was not available. And somebody might say, well, why didn't you go back and maybe re-sim for Justin Fields? Go back and redo it. I did. The stats turned out not as big an improvement, and the team overall did not. And the team record changed, and they were not as good of a team. So I ended up going with the first sim. Now, of course, you could say, well, you're just hiding stuff now. You want Justin Fields to be better. All that bullshit. And then I did change some stuff up. Montez Sweat, I'm going to put at right, and Bryce Huff at left. They just are better at those opposite sides when you go into the rush, the rush ends. So I ended up just changing their positions and swapping sides for them, of course. But the team is virtually the same. Hell, Caleb Williams probably gets a better defense because Eddie Jackson is still an 81 in this universe. So, week 1, we are taking on the Minnesota Vikings. We ended up just looking at the team, so some of the clips are in different orders, but virtually the same. We ended up going 4-3, so not as good this time around. The Lions ended up turning around their season this time. Instead of being 0-7, they are 6-1. Packers 5-2, and Vikings 3-3. Still a very tough division going into week 8. We ended up having our bye in week 8, so that is pretty nice. So yeah, like I said, I tried setting up this team virtually as similar as possible, and at the playoffs we went 10-7. So we ended up going 10-7. We ended up losing to the Rams for the second year in a row in week 18, at least in terms of the Sims. Lions went 10-7, Vikings 7-10, and Packers 7-10. So they fell off a cliff. They only ended up winning 2 of their remaining games. We ended up losing to the San Francisco 49ers, another team that has a very overpowered playbook. Just looking at the My Team rankings, we were virtually the same in offensive points per game. We actually were the same, I think, 22.5, but apparently NFL was just a little bit better at scoring this year. Off of the pass yards per game, we were number 8. Rush yards, we were at 104 a game, number 21 in the league. Points per game, 6, so virtually the same. Defensive pass yards per game, we were 9th, but then our defensive rush was not very good. Caleb Williams, though, 3,999 yards. Yeah, so the Bears would have to wait another season to get a 4,000-yard passer. That actually fucking blows. 399 yards is fucking terrible. 25 picks, 11 touchdowns. Not much of an improvement there. I can see why the rush unit is worse. Of course, you do not have Justin Fields back there. And then DJ Moore, like I said, I did accidentally put into the slot. So he came away with 1,400 yards. Roma Dunes, 800. Cole Kmet, 700. Rashid Shaheed, 635. So, as you can see, the receiving stats changed a little bit. TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds both over 100 tackles. 17 tackles for loss for Williams. 14 for Sweat. 10 for Huff. And 7 for Billings. Sacks were up a little bit in this universe for the defense, but not entirely. Montez Sweat still struggled, which is unfortunate to say the least. So I guess my question to you guys is, what would you guys prefer? Would you guys prefer, Caleb Williams over Justin Fields? Would you prefer Justin Fields over Caleb Williams? And if you knew, I guess my question is, if you think Justin Fields is not going to be a good quarterback, but you knew the team was going to be good and have a playoff run and a good season, and we were winning games, would you rather have that, or would you rather have Caleb Williams? I don't really know. Preferably, I would rather have Justin Fields currently at this moment. I don't think the team is very good, and I think if Caleb Williams comes in, I don't think he'll do much better than what Justin Fields is currently doing. DJ Moore went off in the Player of the Year playing in the slot this year. Of course, I don't think he'll play in the slot next year. I think Darnell Mooney will be back on a prove-it deal. Just that's my personal opinion. I think too many Bears fans are shitting on him currently. But I think Justin Fields stays this year. I think the Bears trade out. There's reports that Caleb Williams doesn't want to come to Chicago either way, which is understandable, right? If you had your choice of either playing, in Atlanta possibly, in a warm weather, in a shit division, you would probably rather go play there, right? Of course. I think there are some places that you would rather play. You'd rather go to possibly New England, or possibly, I don't know why you would want to go to Washington over Chicago, just me personally, But then again, if you come to Chicago, you probably have that expectation of performing right away, because Eberflus is more than likely in the last year if he doesn't start succeeding, right? And all this different information and stuff. Like I said, I personally would rather have Justin Fields going into the next season. It's not as an aspect of who do I think is going to be better. It's just, if we take Caleb Williams, I don't know how good the team is just as a whole. And I think we have much deeper concerns than just quarterback at the moment. I think our interior O-line still needs improvement. I think we still need a wide receiver 2 and 3 at the moment. I think we need a decent backup tight end. I think we need some more edge help. And I think we might need a safety as well at minimum. Like I said, I would love for Cody Whitehair and Eddie Jackson to stay. I would assume they're going to get cut, though. And I would assume we will be keeping Justin Fields. I have a topic that I want to discuss about Justin Fields and Ryan Poles as a whole in the draft coming up. So I'm going to save that for a different video. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think this would go? Do you think the Sims came out pretty decent? Do you think that this is how this, real life would go? Would Caleb Williams be able to perform right away? Or is Justin Fields the guy? What do you prefer? The team success in the deep playoff run? Or Caleb Williams showing that he could probably be the QB of the future, throwing for almost 4,000 yards, having a worse touchdown to interception ratio, but a better completion percentage, better yards per game, and almost having our first 4,000 yard passer? I don't know. It's up to you guys, though. If you guys want to see more videos like this, whether it's, this style content, rebuilds, franchise mode, stuff like that, I'm hoping to be producing a lot more videos over the next coming weeks and leading up into the months of the draft. I'm hoping to have roster updates out virtually every week, as well as videos about them every week going forward once the offseason does come around. Of course, I don't know when I'm going to get this video out. I would like to get it out sooner rather than later, but of course, I do still have to edit it and put it together, and hopefully it'll come out maybe around the Super Bowl or right after the Super Bowl. I don't know when I'm going to exactly put it out, but with that being said, guys, I'm out.